the Falcons are left with Marcus Mariota, who, I mean, can he stay healthy? Right? The last thing I remember seeing from Marcus Mariota is week 1, Monday Night Football against the Ravens. He takes off on a nice run. He hurts himself.
Yeah, pulls his hamstring or whatever.
We may have seen him late. We may have seen him on a cameo later in the year, but that was it.
Yeah.
Now, remember he had that game against the Chargers when Derek Carr had the groin injury. It was a primetime game in 2020. He came in and had a good game, but you just can't count on him to stay healthy. He's got the 5-year relationship with Arthur Smith from their time together in Tennessee, but surely he's not the end. He's the beginning. They got to be thinking something, and I don't know if they're thinking about maybe drafting someone or if they've got something else up their sleeve. But Marcus Mariota can't be, and maybe he is. Maybe it is. Maybe you're right. Maybe they're just gonna mail it in or phone it in or whatever the right saying is. I never get that right, or I never feel confident about mail it in or phone it in. I think both work, but maybe they are the same. Pete says maybe they're just gonna say what the hell. And it's weird that this is the year. This is the year to say let's go get it because the NFC is weak right now.
Right.
This is a weird year.
It is a weird year.
If you're in the AFC and you're the Falcons, you say, forget this. Let's just let's go sell our $2 hot dogs and call it a day. But I'm kind of surprised that they'd pivot so quickly to, wow, we may be something with Deshaun Watson, to, it'll be 2023 before you know it.
Yeah, no, I know. And, I think they thought that if they got Deshaun Watson, they were going to have to take some lumps for a year or two as well. I do think that. But, Mike, it is fascinating. It is. And I do think Atlanta, with the Marcus Mariota move, that's what it is. It's hey, let's see what happens. If he plays awesome, great. Maybe we got a guy and we got a quarterback for the next 4 or 5 years. Maybe. But I would also think that, yes, there's a plan here, whether he's the quarterback just for this year and they dabble in draft options coming up here soon, or if they're just going to go, we're going to get Marcus Mariota and kind of weigh all options here throughout the next year. And then we'll figure out next offseason whether we, like that quarterback draft class, or if there's a free agent quarterback that's going to come about there that fits our team. But Atlanta, it's a weird team. They are weird. And the fact of this, they totally exceeded expectations last year. The fact that they were 7-10 to me was one of the more miracle things that happened in football last year. They had no business being 7-10. You really look at their team and you go, wait, what exactly was it that made them win some of these games they weren't supposed to win? We can't really name a lot of people on defense. They just lost their best player and the linebacker, Foyesade Oluokun, right? He goes to Jacksonville. So the offense, they had the issues, and Calvin Ridley left, and we know that. Running back is no star there. Offensive line, solid, but nothing special. So it was amazing that they went 7-10 last year. So it's going to be a little bit of a knock in the head for Atlanta Falcons fans this year, because I think this is a scenario where you're going, we're going to try to take a step back to go 2 steps forward here in the future. And we're going to have to do this. And within doing that, yes, they're not going to be very good. They got to rebuild their team that makes sense for how they play on defense. And like we said, on offense, who is there to talk about? There's Kyle Pitts, Cordarrelle Patterson, and that's about it. I mean, there's nothing else that you look at and you go, ooh, man, Atlanta, they got this one area on the team that you look at and go, wow, they could be something. So, yes, there's nothing there. And they'll get Cordarrelle Patterson. He's going, I'll play quarterback. He might as well. He plays every other position on the field. But that's my 2 cents with Atlanta, I guess, a little, Mike. I don't know if you agree with it or not, but that's kind of how I look at it.
Well, and as you're explaining it, I'm going back and forth with the idea that it was smart for them to tear it down, and it was dumb for them to tear it down. I mean, they were 7-10 last year. They were 7-8 going into the final 2 games.
Right.
The thing about Atlanta last year, if they would win, it would be close. If they would lose, it would typically
be dominated. Yes,
be close.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
But I think the key is something we haven't mentioned yet. I think what caused them to reassess their situation was the decision of Tom Brady to come back to the Buccaneers. I think that's what changed the analysis.
Could get
because, if Brady's gone, and we didn't know what the Bucs were going to do at quarterback, but Brady's gone, Sean Payton's gone, Drew Brees is gone, the Panthers are a mess right now. They can't get anybody to go play quarterback for them. And so, hey, we got Matt Ryan. We were 7-10 last year. We kind of hold it together. maybe we can make it interesting. Then Brady comes back. It's like, oh, well, screw that. Well, hey, we can get Deshaun Watson.
Then Calvin Ridley goes, right? I mean, that happens.
Well, Ridley happened before Brady, but I think Brady coming back was the thing that caused them, when they had the deal in place, it was reported, like I said, as fact that they'd restructured the Matt Ryan deal to keep him around and reduce his cap number by $12 million from $48.66. It was the highest cap charge ever until he was traded yesterday, and the dead money left behind of $40.525 million was the highest dead money charge a team has ever taken for one player. But I think the pivot, and it gets fueled by many things, but I think the Tom Brady return was one of the big factors, because this is a team that was not uncompetitive, although, I'm looking at their net points. Minus 146 points to go 7-10 and to be outscored by 146
said it right. They kind of beat
stunning.
the teams that were even to them, and they got their asses whooped against the team that were better. I mean, that's why it's weird. You're right. But go ahead, Mike. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
No, but the idea is we assume these teams have very meticulous, careful, deliberate planning. And maybe they do, but it can change in the blink of an eye.
Blink of an eye.
And I don't think I've seen a strategic shift for any team happen as organically, unexpectedly, and swiftly as the Falcons in the past week. I guess that's my overriding point here. The thing was moving in one direction, then they get the call about Deshaun Watson, and they're like, well, you know what?
I know.
We're suddenly at a fork in the road.
Right.
Fork it. Let's go. And they shoot their shot with Watson, knowing that the aftermath, even if they don't get Deshaun Watson. And I'd love to know when the light went off last week for the Falcons.
That's the real thing. That's
if we don't get Deshaun Watson, we're done with Matt Ryan. Because I think they went into it, hey, Matt's mature. Matt understands. We're not going to have a Baker Mayfield problem here where he gets his nose out of joint.
Right.
He understands what we're trying to do.
Right.
We'll be fine with Matt Ryan. Because, Chris, they would have traded him last Thursday. They wouldn't have asked for 4 more days if they were done with Matt Ryan.
Agreed.
They do the deal then.
That's why I brought this up. To me, that's the sense I've gotten here from some people in the league that this is. I don't know exactly how it went down, but the Watson thing, started the conversation in that building to wait, maybe we should just move to the next phase. Whether that's Deshaun Watson or we don't get him, we rip the Band-Aid off, take our lumps, dead cap money, and do that. And that's where I am intrigued by this. Yes, Mike, like you're saying here. I don't know. That is the $1 million question. When did the light go on to go, okay, we didn't get Watson or whatever, however that played out, and to go, okay, well, you know what? It's time to move on from Matt Ryan here too, and let's start, a new era here in Atlanta. I'm with you there. That's what I'm fascinated by and would love to know.
They brought back Cordell Patterson through it all. That's what's weird. It's this mixed bag. Like, why do you need Cordell Patterson if you're going to phone it in / mail it in this year? I mean, maybe you need somebody that the fan base gets excited about or somebody that the fantasy football crowd cares about, although if they don't have very good quarterback play, Cordell Patterson isn't going to have quite the impact that he had last year because he becomes the only guy that you're really worried about on offense.
Yeah, him and Pitts.
Unless Mariota stays healthy. I mean, I'm going into this assuming that he's not going to play all 17 games. Not because of skill, but because at some point he's going to get banged up and he's not going to be able to keep going. So they've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know who else they end up getting, whether there's a veteran out there that they add or whether they target somebody in the draft. But I feel like they still have work to do. And I feel like they still have a chance to be competitive this year, even if they are deliberately choosing to take their lumps now post Matt Ryan. And that's always the reality. When you separate from a franchise quarterback, there's going to be a reckoning in the form of a gigantic cap number because you've been kicking the can in the final years of the relationship into a future cap year when you rip the Band-Aid off with a pre-June 1 transaction. See, last year Drew Brees waited until after June 1 to officially retire. The team waited until after June 1 to put him on the reserve retired list, so they were able to spread the cap charge over 2 years. For the Falcons, they're taking it all right now, $40.525 million right now. That leaves them $168 million, I think, to work with for their team.
Right.
But that's the reality. After 14 years, that's where you are. And after 14 years, here's where the Falcons.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.